Welcome to Two Tangles Tuesday, where we do 2 tangles in 20 minutes or less. Today, we're going to be drawing Spray and Moonlight Bell, 2 really fun to draw botanical tangles. We're going to start off with our frame, so a dot in each corner with lines connecting them. Alrighty, so let's get started with spray. So I'm going to make a C shape right about here, kind of like that. Alrighty, and then we're going to kind of like make it like a bubble C, or like an old-timey telephone handle. Alrighty, and then we're just going to put in a rounded triangle. Alrighty, and now we're going to draw a line up here. Like that, okay? And then this little shape right here, I'm gonna just color in, because it gets a little messy, so it's better if you just color it in, okay? And then I am going to aura around that. And then we're going to put in a frame. Okay. So that's basically how you do spray. Okay. I am going to add in a little bit of leaf. They're going to be kind of like, if you think of them as being like a kind of fescue. If you have trouble drawing leaves, then thinking of them like that may help. Alrighty. And now we're going to do Moonlight Bell. So Moonlight Bell starts off with a triangle. Alrighty. And then we draw a line in that direction and a line in that direction. And then we draw kind of, I don't know, it looks more like corn than a bell. So a shape like that. And then we make these into kind of seed shapes by connecting the ends with the end of the triangle. So we end up with something like this. And then we kind of mimic what Spray did here by putting these little things in like that. Okay. And then what we can also do is we can kind of put an inner aura in there of that. And then you can do basically kind of whatever you want to the triangle. Some people do it colored in. Some people make like, you know, stripes. I think that would be kind of neat to just add in a little detail of stripes. Okay, and when you're doing the stem, the most important thing to kind of remember is that you're going to aura that triangle and then you're going to meet up. So I usually draw that part and then draw my stem and then kind of aura that line like that. Okay. And like I said, I am drawing this more straight up so that you can see how it works. So basically, that is Moonlight Bell. But what I like to do, you can add any sort of leaves that you would like to it. And I am actually going to draw in a muga for a leaf. And I'm around those corners right there. Alrighty. And now what I'm going to draw is basically a young Moonlight Bell. So we are going to draw our triangle. So we don't draw this part on the younger, the immature Moonlight Bell, but we do the rest of it. Alrighty. And then you can draw mukas, or you can actually, since it's a little bit of a rendition of a younger plant, you can draw some swirls just instead of drawing those mukas in there. Alrighty. And so when you draw this though, you know, try to, you know, curve the stems a little bit more. And I just like to make sure that I draw them like kind of straight so that you can see how they're done usually. So I'm going to ink in my frame. Skipping any place where my flower is. Put that one in there though. Okay. Alrighty, now let's get to the shading. I want to close all my pens first. Okay, now let's get to the shading. So for spray, what I would like to do is kind of pick a side of these parts. So I'm going to actually pick the right side here. And by that, I mean, I'm just going to put a little graphite like right there on the right side of those things. And then I'm also going to put it on where the little arcs are. So sometimes I get like graphite on the edge, and I really don't want to do that all the time. So I just take this little tiny eraser tool I have, and just, if I think I got some on the edge, I think I did a pretty good job this time. But so yeah, it's like an eraser pencil. Alrighty, so let's do something with Moonlight Bell. Alrighty. So for Moonlight Bell, what I have seen done that I find pretty interesting is that people will kind of shade in stripes, if that makes sense. So we're just doing the top here and then the bottom. Okay. So it ends up kind of, make it like a sharper one. And this is also good if you just have a small space and it's hard to like erase some of that with the tortillon. Like sometimes I get the tortillon like everywhere and I don't really want it to be that way. So it's easy to just kind of erase a stripe into that. Okay. Alrighty. So, and then I think I feel like it needs like a little bit more contrast. So I am going to ink this in right here. That'll add a little bit. Make sure that's all. So I think I'm going to add a little bit of extra stuff to it though. I feel like it really could use like a little bit extra going on, since I did make my stems like kind of straight and stuff. So I'm going to put some sparkles in here. And then I'm also going to add a little bit of fescue. Like, so this is just kind of like a bare open space, right? So, and it looks it looks okay. It doesn't look terrible, but I am going to add a little bit of fescue in here. And usually I just do them like this if I'm trying to add in just a little bit of interest. Then I put in a couple of like little tiny blades of grass. So, and if you wanted to, you could add more fescue in this little space right here. All right, so I think that added a little bit in there. So, and I like it a lot better. There's my spray and Moonlight Bell.